So after about 18 months of running my land flipping business consistently, I couldn't get past this plateau of $100,000 in a quarter. Like, I just couldn't get past it. And I noticed that quarter over quarter, I wasn't growing, and I couldn't figure out why. I didn't know if it was deal size. I didn't know like why. I didn't understand like why I could not scale beyond this in profit. I'm not talking about, gross profit, pipeline, revenue. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about actual net profit that I took home. And my goal at the time was to get to $300,000 a quarter in profit. And I just couldn't figure out why. And I didn't know. And after a lot of testing, after a lot of research, I figured it out. And then I was able to get to $300,000 quarters, $400,000 quarters. I've had $600,000 quarters profit in the land flipping business. And it's because of a few things that I'm going to mention in this video today. And if you're running your land flipping business right now and you're trying to scale beyond just that plateau of like 10, 20, 30K a month, and it does like pain you, you're like, why can't I scale past that 30K a month level? Well, this video is for you. And I wish I would have had this video. What, three years ago now? I wish I would have had this because it would have changed everything for me. Now, the first thing is, you can't be doing everything in your business. This was a time where I was doing everything in my business. I was calling, I was doing the follow-up, I was calling the title company, I was calling the brokers, I was keeping the broker Rolodex. I was literally doing everything in my business. And if you want to scale to multiple six-figure profit quarters, you cannot do everything in your business. You can't. You need to upgrade yourself to the manager. And until you upgrade yourself to the manager and you're just stuck in the business, all these different functionalities of the business, it's going to be very difficult for you to elevate past this profit goal, right? It's just going to be hard for you. And not only just delegating, but knowing how to filter out for A players. Now, at LandVerse, we do have hiring SOPs where we filter out B players, C players, D players, because I only want my clients hiring the best of the best. You only want to hire the best of the best. And if you're not hiring the best of the best, then they need to go. You need people who you can count on when you're not there. If you go on vacation, if you hop on a flight for 10 hours and you can't be there, you need people that if an emergency happens, they know what to do. And this a lot of the time falls on you. It does fall on you and your process and how you run your business, but it also falls on how much do people buy into what it is that you have to say? How much are people buying into your systems, your process, your business, your vision, your dream, your goal? How much are they buying into it? This is very important for scaling a land flipping business and delegating properly. Now, I didn't really know how to delegate. I didn't really know how, and it was difficult for me at first, but through iteration, through learning, through reading, through research, through talking to many colleagues, through even talking to colleagues that I know that are not even in the land flipping industry that hire very well and hire A players. It just took a lot of research to figure out how to run a team of 3 to 5 people that I can count on to do the things that I need them to do. Not just like VAs, not just like, oh yeah, I just need you to do this, just do this. No. Like people who have bought into the culture, people who care about what we're doing, people who want to drive the business forward. It took me a long time to do that and a lot of practice and a lot of iteration. And so if you're a person, first of all, that wants to just do that and kind of cut all the crap and skip the nonsense, book a strategy call me below and I'd be happy to help you hire A players into your business. Now, what does an A player look like? What does an A player actually look like? Again, someone that buys into what you're doing, someone that wants to show up to work every day, someone that wants to drive the business forward and pays attention to processes. And when problems happen, when stressful situations occur, they don't flop, they don't flip out, they're like, okay, we're going to war. That's my biggest indicator of an A player, someone that is like war ready. Someone that's war ready and that's going to like do it. Not the person that just shows up for a paycheck. And because in the land business, there are stressful situations that you have to handle. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. You're going to have to handle an AG calling you. You're going to have to handle a seller backing out. You're going to have to handle a buyer backing out. You're going to have to handle a broker getting upset with you. You're going to have to handle, if you double close a property, you're going to have to handle a seller seeing the listing. How do you deal with that? Even if you already told them you're going to do that. How do you deal with it? You're going to handle a neighbor telling the buyers that you have walking the property to F off. I've actually had neighbors come out with shotguns, run onto the property that I've purchased and say, get the hell off this property. It's not your property, blah, 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 when I'm doing a showing. So your team has to know how to handle all these situations if you're not around and if you're not in the inner functions of the business. This is very important for you to scale up to like 200-300K a month. 200-300K profit quarters. Now, when I say quarter, please understand, like, I'm saying that because the land business is not like a month over month business where you're just like, okay, 50K a month, I make 60K a month, I make 70K a month. It's not like that. And so I just started doing things quarter over quarter. And the reason why it's not like that is because properties can sell. Like, I've had months where I've sold 20 properties and made hundreds of thousands of dollars in profit. And then the next month, we sold a few properties, or we sold a couple of our inventory, and I only made like 40 or 50K in profit. Right. And so every month is not the same, which is why when you average it out, that's why I say, okay, 300, 400, 500K a quarter. And quarter over quarter, if you're averaging up to like, $1 million, 1.5, 2 million, whatever it is, $500,000, whatever it's going to be, that's really the goal. Right. So ultimately, we build these businesses to be cash flow businesses, and you need to quarter over quarter improve your cash flow. That's the way I think about these business models. So ultimately, you need to take yourself out of the day-to-day hustle of your business and think about being the manager of your business, and start thinking about better markets, start thinking about bigger deals that you can do, which leads me into my next point. Start doing bigger deals. Stop doing these deals that you're making 10 grand on, 5 grand on, 4 grand on. Stop doing that. You continuing to do these small deals is eating up so much of your time. It takes just as much time to do the little deal as it does the big deal. And on the big deal, you just make more money. That's an Olufemi quote. So as long as you continue to do these mid-sized to larger deals, that's how you can actually scale your business without even sending more marketing. Start aiming yourself after bigger deals. Now, when you go back from that, look at your branding and make sure that your branding is in alignment with you marketing to a 200-acre parcel of hunting land. Look at your branding and make sure that you align with a private equity company looking at your mailer, looking at your website, and being like, yep, I'm going to call these people. I've bought property from universities and colleges. Do you know how good your branding has to be for a university, for a dean of a university, for a head of finance at a university to call you and say, hey, we want to sell to you? We get these letters all the time, but there's something about your website, something about the way that this letter was written that we knew you were legitimate. This is what it takes to like buy from everyone. And when you create that channel for yourself where you've now elevated your branding, you've elevated your marketing to the point where you're better than everyone else, then what's going to happen is you're going to get more deals than everyone else, because everyone else is doing the same thing. If everyone else is sending out the same 2-page letter written the exact same way with just the company taken out and that's it, and there's just a contract on the back, and they're not doing anything to separate themselves from that, and you're doing something different and your website looks different, then you're going to do so much better. Because if I'm a seller looking at this website versus that website and they look the same, well, then I'm going to be like, well, what the heck is going on here? And then when I see the one that looks different and it looks more legitimate and it's just cleaner, it just looks a lot cleaner, well, then I'm going to go towards that person. Just human psychology. So if you're using these websites, these like, generalized websites that are just like buy your land, quick cash fast, whatever, then ultimately you're not going to be getting the best quality leads. You're just not, because these websites exist everywhere. And really, to a not superior, but to an intelligent seller, they think scam. So you have to do everything in your power to make sure that they don't think scam when they see you. So you just aiming for bigger deals and knowing how to go into markets where you can consistently sell a larger deal faster. Right. The other thing, too, is like, don't go into markets where you're going to have a $600,000 listing sitting for months and months and months. This is a cash flow business. So we need to turn over cash as quickly as possible. This business doesn't work if you're not making money consistently. And just because I say quarter over quarter, that doesn't mean that you don't make money every month. Right. But when you average it out, you need to be averaging 50, 60, 70, 80, $100,000 profit months. This is just when you average it out. So if you want a cash flow, you need to be selling property consistently, which is why I say to be aggressive with your listings. So when you actually list property on the market, you need to be aggressive in selling the property fast. So we always list 10% below market value. Always. When you sell property, always list 5 to 10% below like top of the market value so that you can sell the property quickly. And this is especially when it comes to larger deals. I also remember not being organized in my business. Like, I didn't really have any organization. And this is why I talk about now, like having touch points set. Like, you need to have touch points set on a consistent basis. So every single time that you get off the phone, what's the next status? What are you going to do next? How are you going to follow up next? How are you going to talk to the seller next? Like, what are you guys going to do? You need to like continuously follow up with these people. And especially like the deals, like some of my biggest deals have been deals where we followed up 50 times, 100 times, 200 times. Those have been some of my biggest deals. And if you want to have these big deals, you can't just follow up 3 or 4 times. You can't just follow up 5 or 6 times. You can't just follow up 10 times. You got to send email, text, call, every single thing that you can possibly do to stay ahead of the cutting edge, because most people are not going to do that. So like, even I say this on this video, you watch it, there's 1% of you that will actually call someone 50 or 60 times, which is why the business continues to work so well for the people that actually do the work. And so when you do that, and not only you doing that, but then you training other people to do it and training other people to make 100 touch points before we say, okay, we'll revisit this in a few months, then you're going to get the deal. Because it might take you 12 months to get a deal. It might take you 18 months to get a deal. It might take you 6 months to get that big deal. But if you continuously are aggressive after each and every single one of your leads like that, then your deal flow is going to start to snowball. Your deal flow is going to start to be just ridiculous because you just were relentless. That's all you were. So you're relentless with your marketing, relentless with your follow-up, relentless with the way that you talk to people. And that's it. The other thing I look for is when we talk to sellers, we're always thinking about how to solve their problem. And first of all, we have to figure out how to identify their problem. Is there a problem that you have? If there's not a problem that you have, then why are you calling? How can I help you? When you come at it from that lens, as opposed to how can I make as much money off of you, they feel it. When you genuinely talk to a seller from the place of like, okay, how can I actually help you? How can I assist you in buying your property from you? And why do you need to sell it at this point? When you come from that lens, they feel it. When you come from the lens of, I just need to get money out of you. When you come from the lens of, I just need to get this property from you so I can sell it and make money, they always feel it. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but each and every seller we talk to, we want them to feel like we genuinely care about them. Well, because first of all, we do actually care. I do want to deliver the service for you. I do want you to get cash for whatever reason that you're getting cash for. I'm delivering a service, so I actually do care. But you don't want them to feel like, oh, this is all transactional, because on closing day, I've seen the difference between the seller that we were completely transactional with and the seller that we built more rapport with, and we actually cared to solve their problem and talked them through it and had a good conversation with them. And it's night and day. The seller that it was like all transactional and you didn't build any rapport and you didn't aim to see what their problems were, they're going to back out with no emotion. The seller that comes to the closing table and you did do all those things, they're way less likely to back up. They're way less likely to back out of the transaction. And so it's important for you to build this great amount of trust with the seller as you progress through your conversations, negotiations, all these things with them. The most important thing is you being on the phone out of all the components of this business. So I would practice that skill like no other. I would record your calls. I would do everything you can possibly do to become a really, really good orator over the phone and really good at conversating with people and conversating with all different types of people from all across the country. This is how you're able to source a ridiculous amount of deals, because most people don't have the skill of being able to speak very well. Most people just don't. It's a lot of it's a lot of that. And if I'm hearing that over the phone, people call me today to buy land from me. And sometimes I take the calls and I actually listen. And if I hear that, I'm just like, it's not that I wasn't going to sell to you anyways, but it just shows me why there are a select few of people that are doing so well with the business. And there are a ridiculous amount of people who are trying to figure this out and just hustling their way through. The other thing as well is cash flow management. You have to learn how to manage your cash. And this is something for me that I'm like, I don't understand why people just think that the gravy train just rolls and you can just spend your time maxing out all your credit cards. Don't do that. Maximize your cash flow. Like, please maximize your cash flow. If you have to get a bookkeeper, whatever it is, like, do not increase your lifestyle once you start making $100,000 a quarter. Once you start making 40 grand in a month, 50 grand in a month, 60 grand in a month, don't do it. Like, you can go like celebrate a little bit. But I've seen so many people miserably fail simply because they're not managing their cash flow. For me, I was putting tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars a month into investments, into things that are going to return me 15% a year safely, like every single month, because I never wanted to end up in a situation where there's a bad month in the business and then I'm like, oh shit, I can't pay for this, or oh, I can't pay this, I can't pay that. Like, that's not that's not cool. We're doing this to take care of our families. I have a family to take care of. I don't have time to play around. If you have a family to take care of, and you're making 50 grand and spending 50 grand, well, then you got another thing coming. So you have to be able to manage your expenses, manage your cash flow, so that way that doesn't happen to you. There's no reason why you should go to the next month and you still have a credit card balance. There's no reason. Unless like let's say you're starting your business and you get a 0 APR card and you're going to like hold that for 6 to 8 months. That's fine. You're just starting out. Once you get to the point where you're already you're doing numbers in your business though, and you're not starting up anymore, and you're carrying balances, and you're kind of just struggling through, well, then that tells me you didn't manage your cash flow properly. That tells me you're spending money on things you don't need to be spending money on. Put all of your attention, time, allocation into scaling your business as far as it can go. So if that's learning how to do something properly, if that's learning a system, that's a necessity. You need to do that. If it's sending more mail, that's a necessity. You need to do that. If it's buying those new sunglasses, if it's going to that, whatever it is, going to that dinner, buying those Gucci slides, buying that new car so that you can feel cool. Like, don't do these things. Don't go buy that new house if you know that you shouldn't buy that house yet because your cash flow is going to be, you're going to be house poor. Don't do it. Build your business to the point where you're not, like, you build your business to the point where you can invest enough money to where if the business goes wrong, something goes wrong in the business for a month or 2 months, or you go through a dry spell of not closing any deals, build it to that point where it's like all good. I've had months in my business where we only made 10 or 15 grand. That's not enough to cover my bills, my living bills. It's not enough. But my investments cover that. So this is a real conversation that I feel like no one actually talks about, like managing your cash flow and making sure that you have the right financial team as well. Making sure you have the like really good accountants, really good bookkeepers. You got to have these. Making sure that you have tax strategists. Making sure that you have all these things. And this is for like, you know, obviously a more advanced person. But if you're already making money in your land flipping business and you're still like getting to the end of the year and you don't have any money, or getting to the end of the quarter and you don't have any money, please understand that like we're doing this to build legacy. We're doing this to build wealth. We're not doing it to say, oh yeah, I made $100K on a deal. We're not doing this to say, oh, I have X amount of dollars in my pipeline, or I have the X amount of dollars in revenue. Who gives a fuck? Who cares? You want to make sure that you have net profit to take and live your life and invest smartly. That's all that matters in this business. Nothing else matters. So learn how to manage your cash flow properly. Learn how to manage your expenses properly. And you will just feel so much better. And this is like something, again, I had to learn the hard way. My first $700,000 in profit, I was going on trips, doing this, doing that, and then I was like, wait, dude, you gotta be smart about your money. You have to make smart investments. Because if you're making this kind of money now in your early 20s, first of all, I already know that I'm going to be making tens, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars later. I already know that. So it doesn't matter how much money you have. It's about the money that you do have and how you manage it. That's the other thing. This is the thing people will say like, oh, well, I need more money. I need more money. Well, okay, yeah, we all do. Everyone needs to make more money. You should. You should aspire to make as much money as possible, right? But if you make $100 million and spend $100 million on dumb shit, well, then you're still going to be broke. So you need to learn how to make and manage your 250 before you can make and manage 2.5 mil. 2.5 mil is not going to make you feel free if you're in handcuffs, if you're in $2.5 million handcuffs. If I make $1 million a year and spend $1 million a year, I'm still in handcuffs because I need to maintain my lifestyle by making sure that the business does what it's supposed to do every month. Otherwise, I am screwed. So don't put yourself in that position, because if you put yourself in that position, you're just going to be so stressed out. It's just not worth it. So make sure that you are super disciplined on your cash flow management and making sure that you have a year of living expenses. This is for me. Like, I don't buy anything new, like no new car, no new watch, no new property, nothing. I don't buy it if I cannot buy it 3 times. If I can't take my cash and buy this thing in 3 times, I won't do it. I won't do it. No matter what it is. So that's the first rule. Second, you need to make sure that you have 6 months to a year of living expenses. And if you don't have 6 months to a year of living expenses, then you're doing something wrong. If you're living month to month to month to month, then you're doing something wrong. Because when you're not living month to month anymore, and you know that your investments cover your expenses, it takes away the stress of that. So then you can focus on just building your business. Then you can allocate your attention on being the best business person you can be. Then you can allocate your attention on learning as much as you can to push yourself forward to $100K a month, $200K a month, $300K a month, or $300,000 a quarter, $400,000 a quarter, so on and so forth. So learn how to manage your cash flow as well. The other thing is with marketing. I've spent over $1 million on marketing over the last couple of years in mail, in texting, in cold calling, and all of it, and predominantly mail. But one thing I've never done is turned off my marketing. You never, ever turn off your marketing. This is a marketing and sales business, and you cannot just sell. You have to be marketing consistently. So when people are like, oh yeah, just kind of find deals on Zillow, I kind of find deals here and there. And, I'm only making about $100,000 a year or $150,000 a year, but, I'm comfortable with that. That's fine. And I hear things like that. Or I hear people say like, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't know why I'm not making more money. I don't know why I can't make $500,000 a year. Why can't I make $1 million in a year? Why can't I make $2 million a year? Well, it's because you're turning off your marketing. You need to turn on your marketing and be consistently marketing over week after week after week. Don't ever turn off your marketing. When people do this is a criminal mistake. Like, it's a cardinal mistake. Like, you just can't turn off your marketing. You can't. Imagine these big companies. If these big companies turn off their marketing, like, what happens to them? You can't do it. You need to be consistently advertising every single week, and don't turn it off. Whether you're cold calling, whether you're texting, whether you're mailing, it doesn't matter. As long as I've always kept my marketing consistent, the snowball keeps rolling in. And you have to be careful, because you don't want to get caught in the cycle of, oh, just send more mail, right? You need to be marketing, but you also need to be looking at your marketing and figuring out if there's any bottlenecks and why your marketing may not be performing. So you need to have enough data to know if you're actually performing or if you're not. And so sometimes, like, if we go through a down cycle in our business where we're marketing and things are not coming in how they normally do, then I look at our KPIs from the quarter before, the month before, and I'm like, okay, we're just fine. Or we need to fix something. So then I'll go into another leg of the business and I'll look at how many calls were had, and I'll listen to some of the conversations, and I'll look at some of the text messages, and I'll look at the emails that were exchanged, and I'll look at how our website is doing, and I'll look at the last mailer, and I'll look at all the different levers of the business that may have to do with the fact that we're not getting the responses that we want to have. I'll listen to the answer force calls. I'll listen to all these things, and then I'll be like, okay, this is why we're not getting the performance that we need to be getting. It's not because of the mail. It's always something else. But you need to know why. And so that's why you track. And so never turn off your marketing machine, but also understand how to audit the rest of your system, so that way you know what's going on with your mailer or what's going on with your marketing, right? And if you need to tweak your marketing, you'll always be able to tell, because you'll get the response back from the sellers. You'll get the response back from the people that are calling in, the people that are talking to you. You'll get the response back. If people are saying that we're a scam too much, if people are saying, is this a scam? Well, then I got to go back and look at how I'm presenting myself. I have to go back and look at what our framing sequence looks like. I have to go back and look at all these things because I don't want to be the scam. And sometimes, yes, we still get it. So then I look, I obsess over this. I obsess over making sure that we look like a legitimate company, which we are, but I want to make sure that anyone sees it and thinks legitimate company. All in all, don't turn off your marketing. Do not turn off your marketing. If you turn off your marketing, you are drowning. You're drowning, because it's the other thing. People will send out mail like 10 or 20 or 30,000 mailers and then be like, all right, cool. I can chill now. I'm just going to talk to sellers and like, yeah, we're just going to work something. We're just going to work it. Boom, boom, boom. Like, okay, cool. And then nothing comes back and then you're mad at the world. Or something comes back and then you're like, all right, well, let me send more mail now. Run a business. Stop hustling. And this for me is like, I had to learn this. Like I would spend money on mail, like 10K, 20K, 30K, whatever it was on mail. And then I'll be like, all right, I'm just going to talk to as many people as possible. Not knowing that the way to actually run a business is to consistently send out mail and consistently be marketing, no matter what. Like you have it on autopilot. So that way you get these periods of time in the land business where you just have these snowballs, where you just sell so many properties and you don't have those snowballs. And the people that have been running this business for a couple of years can vouch for me in the comments. Like you get these moats and these times of your business where you just like snowball and make hundreds of thousands of dollars in like a week or a day because you've sold so many properties. But that didn't come without you doing the initial marketing time and time and time again, week after week after week after week. The other thing too with texting, like I see people get excited about texting and I see people start the business and then they start texting and they send out 500 texts, 1,000 texts, 5,000, 8,000 texts. And they're like, oh, I didn't get any responses. Like nothing happened. Like, why didn't anything happen here? Well, okay. What kind of text messages were you sending? Did you schedule calls with all the people who indicated an inkling of interest within your property? Yes or no? When the seller said that, you know what, yes, I do want to sell to you. And then they started kind of like getting all, weird and iffy. And they were like, I don't really trust you. Did you try to reframe them on your offer? Did you show them how you can provide value to them? Did you do any of these things or did you just let it go? And more often than not, I find that people are just not as aggressive as they need to be to actually get deals. In the initial phases of this, it is a grind to get the cash flow on a consistent basis. Make no mistake, it's not easy to do. But once you do it, it is so worth it. Once you're able to do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it, it is so worth it. So always remember that. And just remember like why you're doing this. You're doing this to create a life for your family. You're doing this to create a life for yourself. You're doing this to just have a ridiculous amount of cash flow. That's why I do it. That's why I do it. And that's why I started doing it in the first place. I was like, I want to start real estate investing. I want to start land flipping because I know I'll be able to provide my family with the life that I want to provide them with. And if you want to have the ultimate cash flow business for yourself where you can take this cash and build up just your overall wealth, to the point where like, okay, you've got $500,000, $1 million, $2 million in cash, and you can take that money and parlay it into something that's going to 5, 10, 20x, then you can do that. If you want to take $500,000 and go buy rental properties, go do it and build your empire. This is what I've been able to do. Like I've always been smart about my cash. I've always studied the game. I've always looked at people who got wiped out by the game and people that were stupid with their money and bought chains and bought cars and bought all this dumb stuff. I always looked at that and I was like, I want to do the opposite because I want to get to 25 and I want to do whatever I want. I want to get to 25 and I want to have a few $1 million. I want to get to 25 and I want to just live life on my terms. I'm going to get to 30 and have 9 figures. Because of the base of this business. So you can use the base of this business to create just a crazy life for yourself. But you got to remember, like when you're in the weeds actually doing it, why you're doing it. And I think so many people get discouraged. It's not easy. It's stressful. Someone can curse you out. Someone can tell you F off. But you got to be aggressive. You got to stay aggressive and stay consistent. And then stay consistent. Stay so aggressive that then you delegate it. And that's when you start getting to the point where you're having the several $100,000 profit quarters. And when you also start doing the bigger deals as well, because again, 200 grand can come on one deal, 100 grand could come on one deal, 300 grand can come on one deal, but you got to take those shots consistently. If you consistently take those shots and have those things as part of your data set on a consistent basis, then those deals are going to come. And what I would recommend for anyone that wants to do big deals on a consistent basis, have your data sets allocated towards big deals. You should only be making big offers if you want to do big deals. You should take out all the things we were offering 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand. Take that out. Start making $50,000 offers. Start making more $200,000 offers. Start making more $400,000 offers, but make sure that the market has proof for you selling that asset for at least double or at least $100,000 more. You start doing all these things, you're going to get to the point in your land flipping business where you're doing multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars in profit per quarter. And if you want help doing this in your business, if you want me to fast track you there, book a strategy call me below. I'd be happy to help you get there as fast as possible. I'll see you in the next video.